All right, people, I'm gonna say it. I guarantee in this video, you're gonna learn something that's gonna help you get to your fitness goals more efficiently, whether your goal is to build muscle, lose body fat, or a combination of both. In this video, I'm gonna go over the 10 things no one really tells you about building muscle and getting lean enough to see your abs. So let's get into number one. All right, so the first topic is the best way to lose the skinny fat look to bulk or to cut? Now, I think there's a big misconception with this dichotomous thinking of either we're bulking or we're cutting. While yes, it's true, a bulk equals a calorie surplus, which equals eating more calories than you naturally burn, and then a cut equals being in a caloric deficit, which equals eating less calories than you burn. Now, I think what is equally as important is how big of a surplus or how big of a deficit you're actually in. Instead of thinking in binary, you want to treat it more like a spectrum. Now, if you're skinny fat, chances are you're probably newer to lifting since you don't have a lot of muscle. You likely have an opportunity to body recomp in a substantial manner. And this is ultimately what I recommend you do if your goal is getting an aesthetic physique. So my recommendation if you're skinny fat is first, body recomp down till you get to the body fat percentage that you're happy with. At the later stage, it might actually turn to a cut where you're not gonna be building as much muscle because you're leaner. But the point is, once you're lean, then you can decide, okay, what's my next goal? If it's aesthetics, chances are then at that point, you're probably gonna wanna try to shift your focus to building muscle, likely while also trying to stay lean, so doing some sort of lean bulk or main gaining approach. Now you might be thinking in that case, how do you body recon? Well, going back to that spectrum model, if this is your maintenance calories, this might be a dirty bulk, this is a lean bulk, and then this is a traditional cut, a body recomp would be somewhere right here. It is essentially a smaller deficit, a slow cut, as you might say. Now the idea is you're in a deficit, which means you're able to lose body fat, albeit at a slower rate. But because you're somewhat closer to maintenance, the idea is on the workout side of things, you're still gonna be able to have the energy to progressive overload over time, especially if you're a newer lifter. Let's call it within your first year of lifting. And because you're able to progressive overload and overall train at a higher intensity in general, where week after week, you have some sort of progress, you're lifting heavier weight, more reps, more sets, whatever it is. Apologize, not more sets, but you're making some sort of progression in the gym week after week. You should be able to build muscle while still maintaining that deficit. And that is how you do a body recon. Because you're making that progress and because you're newer overall, you should be able to build muscle while still technically losing body fat from being in a deficit. And that is at a high level how you body recon. Now the important thing to know is that you need to be consistent, not only on the dieting end, but also with your workouts. You don't want to be missing workouts left and right when you're doing this. Also, generally speaking, you'll be able to get more from a body recomp if you're starting from a higher body fat percentage. And I think it's safe to say once you get to the point where you're on 15% body fat or you can see your abs or something, the chances of you body recomping greatly diminishes. This is also why the leaner you get, generally speaking, the harder it will be for you to be making progress on the strength and muscle building end. And last thing on the body recomp, in terms of protein intake, you should be in the higher end. Try to aim for 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight, at least, because since you're in a deficit, you essentially want all the help you can get to actually build some muscle while you're dieting. Also, people, huge announcement now. Able just had a new drop, but more importantly, if you've been waiting for a huge sale, the Able Black Friday sale is literally live right now. It's up to 60% site-wide on men's and women's. But if you also use code PATH, you're gonna get an additional 10% off on top of that. Plus, it's a great way to support my page while also, of course, getting a discount on your end. As far as the new drop goes, this craft hoodie line with the sweat combo is literally my favorite Able article of clothing ever to launch. I'm using it as a pump cover, of course, for this stringer underneath. I really like this Able lifting club design, as you see right here. But yeah, guys, if you've been looking for new gym clothes that pretty much no one has, it's not gonna be like a Young LA, which everyone's walking around with. And honestly, since your men's line is pretty new, if you wanna be wearing what everyone else is wearing, I think Able is the way to go. I like to think of it as the quality of Alpha Elite, but at the price point of Gymshark. So with that said, back to the video. Now, question number 3 is something that we all will have to deal with at some point in time, and that is how to deal with a plateau. You're losing less weight, and you're not really making any progress on the muscle building end either. Now, first off, the topic of plateaus can be a video in and of itself, but I'll try to make it as concise as possible. Now, there's a few reasons you might be in a plateau. First, if we're talking about a weight loss plateau where you're not really losing weight anymore, so imagine you're following this diet where you're in a calorie deficit, but then 2 months later, you stop losing weight even though you're still following the diet. Now, what likely happened in that case is your body adjusted to the lower amount of calories you're consuming. And in this case, you're not gonna like to hear it, but if you wish to lose more calories, you're gonna have to continue making a bigger deficit than you were before, which means eating less food, so lowering the amount of calories consumed, or trying to burn more calories via cardio. Or what you can do is take a pause on the diet altogether, you reverse diet back up, essentially doing the opposite of what you're doing before. Instead of decreasing calories, you're slowly increasing calories to try to get your metabolism back up, and then look to diet at another point in time. Let's call it like 4 to 6 months. But of course, because you were responsible with the reverse diet, the idea is the second time you diet, you're gonna be starting at a leaner point, but at a higher amount of calories. Let's say you hit a plateau on the strength, muscle building end. Now, there's a lot of reasons here, folks. First one is you're just being impatient. The high end of newbie gains probably lasts around the 1 year mark, so if you're after that, get used to making progress at a slower rate. 2, you're in too big of a caloric deficit. 3, you're a more advanced lifter and you are not in a surplus. 4, you're not training hard enough. 5, you're not applying progressive overload. 6, you're not getting good enough sleep. 7, you're not properly hydrated. 8, you're sick. 9, you're too stressed out. 10, you hopped off performance enhancing drugs. Yeah, there's a lot of reasons why you might be in a plateau right now. The good thing though is a lot of those reasons are pretty self-explanatory to fix, such as if you're not getting good sleep, well, focus on getting more sleep. Now let's specifically talk about strength plateaus. I'm gonna list the reasons and then give you the actionable solution to each problem. The first one, you accumulated too much fatigue. What I recommend is perhaps taking a deload, rest day. It depends on the severity of your fatigue. Like if you're still sore after that rest day, then chances are you probably need more time. And if this is like a systemic thing where consistently you feel more tired and with each workout you're accumulating more and more fatigue, like it becomes harder and harder for you to use the same weight, perhaps consider lowering the workout volume. The second reason is your recovery might be off. In that case, you can 1, eat more calories, mostly coming from nutrient-dense whole foods. You don't want to be just eating more junk food or anything. What I recommend is literally the opposite of that. Stick to whole foods such as vegetables, fruits, nuts. The idea here is not only you're getting more calories in, but you're also getting more micronutrients. So think about vitamins, minerals, that sort of stuff. Now, outside the diet, the third thing you should do is focus on getting at least 7 hours of sleep per night. This is extremely important. And then during the day, you want to make sure that you're staying hydrated, especially before your workout. If you work out in the morning, make sure you're getting some fluid in before your actual workout. And last thing is make sure you're not hungry before your workout. So I personally train fasted in the morning, but I'm gonna tell you straight up, that is not gonna be optimal for making progress in the gym. And I'm not gonna go into the specifics of what should be a good pre-workout meal, because honestly, the most important part of a pre-workout meal is simply so you don't feel hungry. It's been shown that the sensation of feeling hungry, that satiety that you get, can actually negatively impact your performance in the gym. So just simply getting something in your stomach is the most important part. All right, so that's as concise as I can get. There are a lot of reasons why you might be in a plateau right now. And I'm gonna be honest, guys, it can be really hard to determine what is the root cause of your plateau. And that's where a coach can be really beneficial. So if you're looking for more personal guidance on getting to your fitness goals, I highly recommend you apply to my exclusive one-on-one fitness coaching program, where I pretty much do that. I take the guesswork out of you getting to your fitness goals, so you really can just focus on executing and not really having to worry about, okay, you know, why am I stuck? What's going on here? I'll show y'all some past transformations, so if you're interested, find the link in the description. Now, topic number 4 is there a point where training to failure is not beneficial? Yes, and that is when it hinders your ability to perform on your later exercises, or it leaves you still sore by the next time you hit that same muscle group. Now, topic number 5 is why am I not losing weight? Well, put simply, you're likely not in a caloric deficit. Or if you're a newer lifter, it could just be that your body recomping. Imagine if you lose 1 pound of fat, but you also gain 1 pound of muscle. Well, the net result is you're still gonna be the same weight. However, your body composition improved. That's why I think it's important to get a weight scale that also tracks body fat percentage. Now, don't take that number as the absolute body fat percentage that you're actually at, but use it as a relative measure. If it says you're 20% body fat 1 week and a month later it says that you're like 18.5, regardless of whether you're actually 18.5% body fat or not, you can probably trust that you did lower your body fat percentage. Topic number 6 is best way to manage recovery when working a very physically demanding job. Now, the pros of working a physically demanding job is your total daily energy expenditure is going to naturally be higher, which means you can probably get away with eating more calories. But the struggles you're probably going to be facing is more on the fatigue side and keeping the performance as high as possible. So what I recommend first is prioritizing sleep and eating nutrient-dense foods. You also want to make sure that you're staying hydrated throughout the entire day. This means also consuming electrolytes, not just simply water. Now, if you are dieting, make sure you do not rush your diet. You don't want to be in a big caloric deficit because you're just not really going to have the energy to make progress on the workout side. What I recommend is at most, lose body fat at a rate of 1% of your body weight per week. Nothing bigger than that. You also don't want to be overdoing it in cardio. Then on the workout side, I recommend you train with a lower volume in general. Topic number 7 is Do we have to watch out for anything when taking whey protein or creatine? Now, first off, generally speaking, taking whey protein or creatine should be safe. However, there are some things you should consider. For one thing, I don't recommend taking either on an empty stomach if you want to make sure you're avoiding stomach discomfort. And then on the protein powder side, make sure you're not treating protein powder as a replacement of protein in your diet. You still should be consuming the majority of your protein from whole food sources such as chicken breast, pork tenderloin. On the vegetarian side, you have tempeh, tofu. On the pescatarian side, there's salmon, tuna, of course. There's a variety of protein sources regardless of what diet you adhere to. So make sure you're not just like solely relying on taking protein powder with every meal. Now with creatine, this is extremely important to know. Make sure you are staying hydrated if you're on creatine. It becomes that much more important. I actually have doctors that I know that have had patients come into the ER dealing with kidney issues because they weren't staying hydrated while taking creatine. Now, I'm not trying to scare you, and this doesn't mean you need to be taking 5 gallons of water every single day on creatine, but I just want you to be mindful that it becomes that much more important to stay hydrated when you're taking creatine. Easiest way is by keeping a water bottle with you throughout the entire day and just sipping on it. Also, if you're curious what protein powder or creatine to take, I personally recommend MyProtein. I think their products are very valuable for the price, and the protein powder flavors across the board are really good. I personally recommend Clear Whey. That kind of just blew my mind. It's essentially more like a juice rather than a milkshake. So for those that naturally hate taking like heavy milky protein stuff, Clear Whey is a great option, and then their creatine is super cheap too. So just make sure to use code TYLRPath if you want a big discount. I believe it's like 40% off right now. The support will be much appreciated. All right, moving on to topic number 8, and that is how do fitness influencers that market fast and extreme results impact realistic training? Now, I'm gonna be real, guys here. There's a good amount of BS information out there. However, I feel like the general amount of good information out there on the internet has drastically improved in even just the last like 5 years. Now, personally, I'm not a fan of fad diets, so keto diet, carnivore, that sort of thing, or PD use, which is a trendy thing right now. And I'm gonna be real with y'all, I think as a whole, the fitness industry has good intentions, but there's a subset of the fitness industry out there that is trying to sell you this like fast and easy way to get to your dream physique when truthfully speaking, that is really not possible without serious consequences. One example is, let's say you see someone lose weight super quickly. Generally speaking, that involves them being in a very aggressive calorie deficit that's probably not gonna be sustainable long term. This is why you see yo-yo dieting, so someone gain weight, lose weight, gain weight super quickly, and eating disorders pretty rampant in this kind of area of fad diets. And by the way, if you're trying to lose weight as quickly as possible, you're definitely not gonna be building muscle along the way either. In reality, I would say reasonably succeeding at fitness, so let's say getting to a healthy body fat percentage, building a physique that you're proud of, feeling confident in your own skin, and actually sustaining this cannot really be done in a fast way. And while I wouldn't describe the process as easy per se, it's also not extremely hard in my opinion, especially if you approach things the right way, like you're doing things in a sustainable manner. And speaking in generality here, that might look like dedicating 45 to 75 minutes of weight training 2 to 6 times per week, committing to gradually learning good form on all these exercises so you're able to avoid injuries and optimize the movement for the target muscle, incorporating lean sources of protein in your diet, as well as vegetables, fruits, just nutrient-dense foods as a whole, and kind of gradually decreasing the amount of junk food you consume, and aiming for at least 7 hours of sleep each day. And of course, doing that consistently for a long period of time. I think that is really what's gonna move the needle for everyone. And these are things I try to instill in all my clients, no matter what background they're coming from. Some are working corporate jobs, some are students, some are working in medicine, others are investment banking, working a buttload of hours. The big thing is you want to approach things from a sustainable manner, and I ultimately just try to help them find that balance. All right, topic number 9 was, what was the change you made on your approach when training that made the biggest difference? So what was like the thing I changed with my workouts that actually made the biggest difference? In my opinion, it was going from 4 sets per exercise in one workout down to 2 sets. So essentially lowering my volume from like 20 sets per muscle group per week to closer down to like 8 to 10 sets. And the reason isn't because like lower volume is inherently better than higher volume. I would actually argue that it's quite the opposite. But essentially I found that for me, when I was doing higher volume stuff, a lot of those later sets were more or less junk volume for me. So it was hard for me to actually like progressive overload and keep the intensity high just because my volume was so big. So what lowering the volume allowed me to do was not only recover better, but allowed me to actually focus on progressive overload more consistently week after week for all my exercises, including the later ones in my workout. And the best part It made my workouts more efficient. Instead of like having a 2-hour workout, I can get everything done in like 45 minutes. Now, topic number 10, the last topic. What is your long-term fitness goal now that you possibly have reached your natural limits? This is a really good question. Now, first off, I don't believe I'm at my natural limit. And the reason why is, even though I've been training for 9.5 years now, recovery has been one of my weakest areas over the past 2 years. And this is mainly due to high stress levels, not getting good quality sleep, and right now, I'm at a point where I'm prioritizing the growth of my business and social media page over maximizing my gains. Now, I definitely don't plan to keep it this way forever, but even talking about fitness goals, I don't really have like a peak fitness goals where, I'd be able to look back and be like, yeah, no, this is what I want to achieve and look back on. Now, as far as my long-term fitness goals go, it's more resilience-based. So I want to be able to continue doing what I'm doing now for as long as possible. Like, I plan to be working out when I'm like 80, 90, 100, So while I don't personally have plans to be the most aesthetic possible or put on as much muscle as possible, I want to more or less be able to maintain my physique for as long as possible, all the way up until like my 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, And I want to do this 100% naturally. Like, I want to stay a lifetime natty. I think a lot of people focus on very milestone-like goals, but for me, I've always been more interested in like longevity, resilience, and essentially be like the turtle in the race rather than the hare. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. Comment down below what you learned in this video, or what was your favorite topic that we talked about. Give me your opinions. Hit the like button. It's the easiest way to support my page, and it's entirely free. Hit subscribe if you want to level up your physique, and hit the bell notification to get these videos right to you. I'll see you on the next one. Peace.